Hey, good morning, Tom for Treasure. Welcome in. Let me get over here to my YouTube feeds so I can monitor that. Hope everybody's doing well. Just getting my YouTube feed over here going, and let me mute that. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Gina. Hey, Tom for Treasure. Hey, Zimmel Jess. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Anybody else I've missed? We had an incredible weekend. Amy and I went up to Greensboro to do the US 21 Road Market, along with Molly from Consignment Chats and her husband, Nick, and had a really good time. Found a ton of treasures. We came back to Knoxville with a whole carload full of stuff. Um, Despite a little bit of rain and some storms and it being very, very hot and humid, um, I would say we had a very successful trip and a very fun trip. So, um, I actually just finished up a YouTube video on that. So, at 9 o'clock this morning, that should go live. So, yeah, check that out over on YouTube and you can see all the treasures that we found. A little bit later in the show, maybe we'll go out to the garage and just check out some of the things I found. Anybody else do anything exciting this weekend? Hey, Susan Booker, Coma 698, Gorgeous Finds, Lone Star Loot, Vintage Boutique Cali. Thanks for coming in. I am Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures here in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is a show that I do every Monday morning at 8:30. It's typically just a quick 30-minute show or so. Talk about what we did over the weekend. Uh, Sometimes we'll show a few treasures we found, answer any questions anybody might have about Whatnot or just reselling in general. I've been on Whatnot now for a year and a couple of months and been reselling longer than I care to talk about. If you look at most of my online marketplace start dates, it'll say I started in around 1998. So all that means is that I'm getting old. So um, but yeah, um, if you've never done one of those like really long yard sales, man, they're so much fun. And it was a mix. I was expecting it to be pretty much all just like flea market stuff. Um, and I don't know why I expected that. I've never really done anything like that. And there was definitely a lot of that, but there were also a lot of just houses along the route set up. And then we would look for signs that sent us down side roads out into the middle of nowhere. And we found some cool stuff there. The Oh yeah, and Gorgeous Finds. I'm going to the 127 yard sale next week. I'm near Crossville, which is where 127 crosses. Um, so a friend of mine, Charlie, and then maybe another friend, Rod, that I know through my antique booth in Clinton. I think we're going to go Thursday, and then Amy and I are going to go on Saturday. Um, you know what? I need to keep up with the chat over here on YouTube too, just in case anybody comes in. Um, yeah, so now I think the 127 one, okay, so the biggest thing I was surprised about with the 121 yard sale, I mean, and it's 100 miles long roughly between North Carolina and Virginia. I thought there'd be a whole lot more people there. Um, I mean, it was crowded, but it was definitely not like overly crowded. Now, in talking to some of the vendors, I did hear that like Friday was the busiest day they had. Um, then I felt really sorry for a lot of the vendors because both Friday night and Saturday night, it stormed so bad. And I mean, you would see all these tents just mangled on the side of the road, the pop up tents. And I mean, especially when we were there Sunday morning, I guess a really bad storm came through part of the route. And there was literally like glassware and stuff, completely filled up with water. And, just a lot of them didn't have like, I guess, time or the room to load everything up. But um, it did mean we got some pretty good deals because there were a couple of places we came that, excuse me, that were giving stuff away. I guess just because it had gotten wet, but it was glassware. It wasn't going to hurt it, but I guess they didn't want to load it back in boxes. So we got some really good deals. I got, yeah, and as I mentioned, I did just finished up a YouTube video right before this show. It'll go live at 9 o'clock, so pretty much right after this is over. So if you want to see some of the things that we found, check that out. One of the things I did get to check off my bucket list was going to Mount Airy in North Carolina, which if you watch the Andy Griffith show, that's what Mayberry's based off of. So we ate at the soda shop, Walker's Soda Shop. Hey, B. Braun. Hey, Sukiyaki61. JK Sis, thanks for coming in. Anybody else that I've missed? But yeah, so we got milkshakes at the Walker Soda Shop and got my picture taken next to the squad car, and it's got like a cardboard cutout of Andy and Barney and Helen and Thelma Lou sitting in the front seat. So I was very excited to do that. We didn't spend a whole lot of time, and I would love to go to the Mayberry Day Festival they have in Mount Airy. I don't know if anybody else is a really big Andy Griffith fan, but it's like my favorite TV show of all time. So, yeah, I could go get my nose flute and play the theme on the nose flute, then everybody would really be whistling it, but I won't subject you to that this morning. So yeah, and then so as I mentioned, this weekend I'm going to the 127 yard sale. So I don't know how many other people are going at different points along the route. I mean, I think it's like what, 500 miles. I know it goes through. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes through Michigan. I know Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama. Yeah, I knew it was Michigan to Alabama. I'm not sure what all states it touches in between, but yeah, we'll probably do like One Direction. We'll go to Crossville, Tennessee. Rod, Charlie, and I'll do One Direction on Thursday. Then, if it's really good, I may go back on Friday, but then for sure, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama. That sounds right. And I think it originally started in Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, and then it just kind of kept expanding to that. Yeah, and I would love to start further north, but as much driving as we did this last weekend, it's going to take me like an hour and a half to get to Crossville. Well, no, not that long. About an hour to get to Crossville from Knoxville. And then, I'll either go north or south on Thursday and then go whatever direction I didn't go on Saturday when Amy and I go. But so the absolute coolest thing this weekend, hey, welcome in Josh Tweetco. Thanks for stopping by. Anybody else I missed? Yeah, and I've heard there's a lot like right around Crossville at the exit. And so if for anybody who has been to the 127 yard sale, how flea markety is it? That's what I was saying at the beginning. My biggest surprise with the US 21 was the lack of crowds, and a lot of the weather and heat and everything may have had something to do with that. But B, I was surprised at the number of like true yard sales along the route. There were definitely a lot of people, selling flea market stuff, everything from junk to, antiques and everything in between. Now, the coolest thing that we saw on the route, and it was the first day, it was really right after we started. We saw an estate sale sign. So, it was not too far off the main road, but we went to this estate sale, and it wasn't an estate sale run by a company. It was this old house built in probably the 1800s. And this lady had lived there up until like 3 or 4 months ago, is what we were told. So yeah, and gorgeous finds. I have somebody did the one tip I got was, look for signs like on side roads and head down those side roads, and that's where you're going to find your coolest stuff. So we'll see. It should be fun anyway. I'll be hanging out with friends and then hanging out with Amy on Saturday. But in any case, so we went to this house on Saturday, one of the first ones we hit. And as I mentioned, it said estate sale. And so as we were walking up, this house was just incredibly cool from the outside, and it had a bunch of like old, like detached outbuildings that were also just as old. And I think it was the daughter running the sale and then probably some other family, but they were just had, I mean, I'm assuming it was just kind of left like it was when her mom died. And to be honest, I don't see how somebody lived in there. It did not appear to have AC. I mean, we didn't see any evidence of any AC. it did have like one of the big kerosene, or not kerosene, heating oil tanks on the outside. And you'll see that in my YouTube video if you watch it. Um, but I mean, it was just very dirty inside. And there were boxes of stuff everywhere. So it was a picker's paradise. I mean, we were just digging. We were there for at least an hour, and we probably would have stayed longer, but it was literally 150 degrees in the house. So hot. But we got all kind of stuff from there. There's a lot of stuff that it, we kind of had. Since there were four of us. It was Molly from Consignment Chats, her husband, me, and my wife Amy. So we had kind of limited room in the car. I mean, they had like a Mercedes SUV or something, so it had a fair amount of room. But there were like tons of boxes of stuff that, if it would have just been me, I would have grabbed them because they were asking next to nothing. But I still bought a ton of stuff there. The one thing I passed up that I was going back and forth on, they had this huge, and it was probably, oh, I don't know how big it was, but it was like a, really big framed velvet Elvis. It just had a couple little tears in it, and they wanted $90 or best offer. So I thought about offering 20, but even with that, with the rips and little tears, I mean, you didn't notice them till you look close, but I ended up passing. That's probably the one thing I have a little bit of regret about, is not making an offer on that. But I got a couple of other really good frame things there. I got the instant ancestor type prints. It was like an old man and an old woman that looked like they were probably portraits from the mid 1800s. And then we got some other artwork there. Um, got a bunch of old board games that were like 50 cents a piece. But yeah, it was just, I can't believe somebody lived there up until just a couple of months ago, if what we were told was correct. So, hey, Bedlam 100, Indiana Thrift 50, TC Camera, Eden's Grace. Appreciate all y'all stopping by. I am Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures, live here on Whatnot this morning, as well as over on YouTube. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you haven't, I talked a little bit about it last week, but if you haven't done the multicasting that you can do from Whatnot now, it was really easy to set up. I know you can do it on YouTube, Facebook Live. I haven't done Facebook Live, and I think I can't remember what the other one is, Twitch or something like that, maybe. Yeah, I mean, and it was sad on. I mean, I think that every time I go to an estate sale, I mean, I remember, at some point, or I think at some point, is this going to be me? Just people walking through my memories, and I don't know that I'll care after I'm gone. But do I deal in memento mori photos? What are memento mori photos, JK Sisk? I guess I don't deal in them because I'm not exactly sure what that is. So, hey, piece by piece, Maverick 79, and then we have Mav, it's 1107, Quirky Flip Lady. Dr. Long Boots, thanks for stopping by. We're just talking a little bit about the weekend and what we all did. I went to the US 21 Road Market. It runs between Virginia and North Carolina. We were in North Carolina the most of the day. Oh, stage photos of the deceased. I mean, I have seen those before, and I've had some. I do not deal specifically in those. I have had some of the baby photos that I'm 99% sure were deceased babies, but don't know 100% for sure in that case. But I don't know that I've had any like adult ones. I've had some funeral pictures, but they weren't staged, just like people in the coffins and such. So what's the one that you have coming up, Indiana Thrift, that's 180 miles? Is that the one part of the 127, or is that a different one? Because if you weren't in here earlier, I mentioned next weekend I'm going to the 127. So it should be a good sourcing, like 2 weeks. I got a ton of stuff. Hey, here comes Molly from Consignment Chats, speaking of. And Molly, I have the YouTube video scheduled and ready to go at 9 a.m. So make sure you check that out. I stayed up way too late last night getting that put together, but it's us walking around and then me unloading the car last night and kind of showing everything that I found. Hey, Juxtaposition, appreciate you coming by. So the Michigan US 12, so yet another one of those long yard sales. Yeah, I'm really curious how the 127 is going to compare to the 21. Just from, I think there'll be a lot more people. I know it's a lot more publicized than that one is. I'd never heard of the 21 till Molly told me about it, but I'm so glad we went over. In addition to finding a lot of really neat things, it was cool just to get to hang out with Molly and Nick, and we ate some really good food. Uh, Probably ate too much good food. We went to a brewery in Elkin, North Carolina, I think it was, on Saturday and ate lunch there. And it was in an old tobacco warehouse. And this was the really, really cool building. It had the really, really high ceilings and it was all hardwood. And um, I mean, you just think how much it would cost to build something like that today. And had a lot of like neat old furniture and stuff in there. So enjoyed seeing that. And then they took us to a taco shop in downtown Greensboro on Friday night, and it was also really good. I think I got a Nashville hot chicken taco and then a Cuban taco. They were both really good. And then, of course, a margarita since we were at a taco shop. Had to get that. Yeah, salad only diet. That's right. I am going to definitely try to eat somewhat healthy this week. Um, but, we'll see how it goes. We did have pasta last night, so it was really good. We had three of our four kids over, which really doesn't happen that often. I mean, my oldest daughter's in Houston, so obviously she wasn't there. But my daughter, who lives in Knoxville, she came over. Then my youngest daughter, who just found out, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, I probably did. She just found out she has a job in Vancouver, Washington. So she starts that in September. So she'll be heading west. And then my son's moving to Nashville here in a couple of weeks. He starts a job as well. So we kind of went from empty nesters to having a couple at home, and now we're winding back down to be empty nesters again. So looking forward to that. I mean, we've enjoyed having Tanner stay with us while he was getting his master's at UT, and then Rosie's staying with us for a few weeks until she starts her job in Washington State. So and Jen will drop by occasionally. She lives in downtown Knoxville, and then we're out west, so she's probably about 20 minutes, well, 15 to 20 minutes from us. Doesn't take very long to get anywhere in Knoxville. Hey, little miss this, Art Lover 888. Hey, George 0930, my getting place. If you're just joining, thanks for stopping by. I am Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures here in Knoxville, Tennessee. In addition to Whatnot, I have 3 antique booth locations and then sell on 6 other online marketplaces. You can go to www.franklinhillventures.com and see links to all my social media, as well as all the different places that I sell. Um, but I've been a full time reseller since September of 21, and I kind of supplement that with some IT consulting I do for hospitals. But for the most part, I do reselling, and I mean, I feel so fortunate to be able to do what I love because it's definitely my passion. Yeah, I mean, and time for treasure. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, we definitely raised our kids to be independent, so we did not want them to move back home, and they did not really want to move back home for any, permanent, length of time. We've had since, I guess, so my oldest daughter, she's 27 now. My second daughter's 25. My son's 23, and my youngest daughter's 22. So we went completely empty nest for a short time while I think Abby had already graduated and she was in Houston. And then the other three were all still in school, either grad school or undergrad. Then Tanner moved back, or Jenna moved back in for a while because, so the reason Jenna moved back in just for like, I think she was here about 10 months. She graduated from Millsaps in Jackson, Mississippi with her master's, and she applied for like a million jobs in Nashville. She got an apartment there, and that's where she was going to live. And then her and her sister went to Spain last year to hike the Camino de Santiago. And when she came back, it was Amy had happened to run into somebody's dad that she used to play soccer with. And he was like, "Oh, I know a lot of people in Nashville. Have her send me her resume." So Jenna sent him her resume, and then he ended up hiring her for the company that he works for, which is like a consulting firm that supplies people to the labs in Oak Ridge or to the like businesses around the labs. So she ended up getting a job in Oak Ridge. So applied for all these jobs in Nashville, applied for one in Knoxville. Of course, she got the one in Knoxville and she had this lease on this apartment. So we let her live with us while she was getting her lease to rent, her lease to rent out over in Nashville. But now she's got her own place in downtown Knoxville. So yeah, I mean, and we're the same way, Time for Treasure. I mean, we're never gonna like say no to our kids if they needed a place to live for a while. But on the flip side of that, we're not going to just let them come live with us forever either. Um, and I don't think they'd want to. I mean, Jenna was ready to get out of the house for sure. Uh, and then Tanner's excited about getting to Nashville, and Rosie's like over the moon excited to get to Washington State. In her position, it's going to work out well. It's an AmeriCorps position, so she's working for AmeriCorps now out of Birmingham, Alabama. She coordinates all the river cleanups around the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area, and then I think that contract ends pretty soon. But then she's got another AmeriCorps job, and it's a 10-month job. And so that'll give her a chance. She thinks she wants to live out west, but this will give her a chance to see if she likes it, see what she thinks about living, that far west for 10 months. And then if she doesn't like it, she can do something else. But it also, when you work for AmeriCorps, it defers your student loans for a while. There's some other benefits. It gives you some government job credit if you ever want to work for the government. I think it moves you up the list when you're looking to get a job. Um, just one more quick thing. Always do a giveaway at the end of this show. We have 3 real photo postcards. I always try to give away things that are representative of the things I sell in my shows. So my next show is Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I think I'm going to permanently move to evening shows now. I did fine in the afternoon, but I really like having Amy be able to join me for the shows. And by doing it at night, that means Amy can be a part of the shows as well. So 9 o'clock, we've scheduled, our regular schedule is going to be every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll sprinkle in the special events we do, like Ephemerama, Paper Palooza, and the occasional other event we might get asked to do. And I don't know, other people who sell and whatnot. I don't know if you can identify with this or not, but, as I mentioned, I started selling on Whatnot, I think in April of last year. And I mean, I absolutely love it. It's been a big change in my paradigm of selling, how much stuff I can move quickly. I love the social aspect of it. Um, but I found that it was like becoming all consuming. I was like doing Whatnot at the expense of everything else that I did, especially my other online marketplaces. So I decided to cut back to like every other week. And then, as I mentioned, just sprinkle in special events every now and then. So now what I do is like I'll focus on Whatnot this week, like getting stuff in the catalog for the show on Friday night. But then the next week, well, of course, the next week's Paper Palooza week. So I'll probably be focusing on Whatnot that week as well. But typically, I'll be able to like focus on other online marketplaces in the off weeks and then do Whatnot that one week. And I think that'll give me a better balance in my like reselling life, so to speak. And then, I've also got my 3 booths to take care of. Yeah, gorgeous finds, kind of the same thing. Oh, and sorry to hear about your sick parent. I hope that they get better, and I'll say a little prayer for you. Um, but yeah, I love Whatnot, and I mean, I would love to do a show every day. But the other thing Whatnot did, and I don't know if you saw in Whatnot, if you also found this. I mean, it adds this level of stress in your life because you sell so much so quick that your sourcing game has to be upped that much further. Um, it's one thing to sell 30 things in a week across my other 6 online platforms, but then I sell 30 things in 2 hours on Whatnot, and it's like, okay, where am I going to get my next batch of ephemera? So I mean, I'm constantly just putting feelers out for ephemera here and ephemera there, and it definitely is just it's not a bad stress, but it's just like, oh, I hope I'm going to find enough for my, my next show or my next shows next month. So, hey, S Redbird 04, Dustin Patina, Bucky 221, Kells Vintage Glass. Appreciate y'all stopping by. We're getting probably close to the end. I mean, I'll stay as long as people want to chat, but I do try to end about 9, so everybody can get their week started. I use this show just to get my week started off on the right foot, get motivated to go do whatever I need to do. Today, I'm going to be going through a lot of the stuff I found this weekend at the 21 yard sale and I've already unloaded it out of the car, but now I need to start going through it. And, I'll decide, is this going to the booth? Is it going to go on Whatnot? Is it going to go on another online marketplace? Yeah. And I mean, and there's definitely, I've kind of learned, the other thing I've done with Whatnot too is, I do not do anything for the most part except ephemera and Whatnot. I do sell my Franklin Hill Farms products, and um, it's funny, I never intended to sell those on Whatnot, but I gave away a jar one time in a show. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to my Buy It Now and you'll see I have all these different Franklin Farms, like pickles and sauces and butters and things like that. But I never intended to sell those on Whatnot. We did those through our antique booths, and we also did festivals and such. And but I had somebody request for me to put some in the store, so now I just leave them in there, and I sell a surprising amount. It always surprises me how much that I sell through Whatnot. With the new shipping to buy 2 jars, it's a whole lot more reasonable now than it used to be. It used to be what, $13.50 to ship 2 jars, and then $4.50 for every additional jar after that. Now you can do the 2 jars for $8.35, and then depending on where you're located, in relationship to where I live, like jars past 2, they may jump up, quite a bit if you're on the West Coast, but if you're, east of the Mississippi, it still stays pretty reasonable. So that's been one of the surprises of Whatnot that those have sold. Tell you what, let me go ahead and get this giveaway started here real quick. So if we do decide to end at 9 o'clock or so, that'll be done. All right, so that is going, and that's just for these 3 real photo postcards. As I mentioned, I try to give away things that are representative of the types of things I sell in my shows. I guess spread the love of paper. It's funny how many people I see say that, they didn't know what ephemera was before Whatnot, and now they're like completely hooked on ephemera. And I knew what it was, but I definitely get a lot more ephemera than I did pre Whatnot. Hey, Fleck Mike 6, Fat Beagle 007, Art 9, Malik 149. Thanks for stopping by. Anybody else I've missed? If you weren't here earlier, I am Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures. I'm here in Knoxville, Tennessee, just coming off a weekend at the US 21 Road Market in North Carolina and Virginia with my friends Molly and Nick. Molly's with the Consignment Chat Ladies, so make sure you check them out on YouTube if you just search for Consignment Chats. And then you can also find me on YouTube, just Franklin Hill Ventures, just like I am on Whatnot. And I do have a new video that's going to be going live right at 9 o'clock. So here in just a couple of minutes, and kind of document our journey from the weekend and the things we found. And little miss this, we are also going to the 127 this weekend. It's funny, I've never been to one of these kind of yard sales before, and then I'm going to do 2 in 2 weeks. Where are you going to start your journey on that yard sale? We're starting in Crossville, Tennessee, so it should be fun. I'm really curious to see how they compare. If you weren't here earlier, like my biggest surprise probably with the US 21 yard sale was I was expecting it to be a lot more crowded than it was. I think the weather had something to do with that. It rained a lot over the weekend, especially at night, and I felt so bad for the dealers because so many of them just got completely soaked, and like lost a lot of inventory, like records and you know magazines and things that can't get wet. And then it was hot. Just so hot. Like in the 90s with really really high humidity. Um, right now, T Shore, we have had strawberry preserves before, but we do not have any right now. We do have the triple berry, I think, still left, and that's strawberry raspberry and blueberry, I think. It could be blackberry instead of raspberry. But anyway, if you look at the jar, it says what's on it. So will Little Miss this? We might run into you then because I will be starting in Crossville. And I don't know, we're going to go Thursday. I'm going to go with two friends of mine on Thursday. And I don't know if we'll go north or south that day. And then Amy and I will probably go on Saturday and go whichever way we didn't go on Thursday. So, um, yeah, so if you want to, you can send me an email at stewart@franklinhillventures.com and maybe we'll run into each other along the way. We didn't run into anybody we knew over the weekend at the US 21. I know there were some people there. I think Commonwealth Picker, Kevin might have been out there somewhere. I'm not sure who else was. I just heard him mention something about it. So Chip and Sissy, are you talking about Whatnot shows that you had a lot of people dropping out? So, and I think, yeah, and it's funny, Whatnot. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty established, but I mean, every once in a while I have shows that are just duds too. Like my last show, it was Friday at 1 o'clock, and I've had other Friday at 1 o'clock shows that have been like off the charts, but this one, just for whatever reason, and you can almost tell when you first start your show if it's going to be good or not. I mean, I can usually gauge it from the number of pre-bids and then how many people I have come in early and then like how engaged the chat is. And it was just one of those blah shows. I mean there were, I had 12 to 15 people there and I sold quite a bit, but most things went for like just one initial bid. By the way, there's 30 seconds left on the giveaway if you do want to get in. And so I ended up going 2 hours. I mean, I did over $100, which, it's not terrible for 2 hours, but it's not normally what I do. But then, I can do my very next show and it'll be like off the charts. So I have found Whatnot can be inconsistent sometime, regardless of how long you're selling, how many followers you have. So we'll just see how the next one goes. Um, and I don't want to make it sound like I did terrible, but it was, not as good as some of my shows. Hey, Annie, thanks for coming in. Let's see who wins the giveaway. It looks like it is Summer Green 8732. Congratulations. That'll be coming your way. So it is just past 9 o'clock. Don't know if anybody else has any questions or comments. Give you just a minute to pop anything in the chat you want to say before we cut off. But usually I end my show by raiding somebody. So if you can at least hang around long enough for us to do the raid, I am home. We made it home. And I was telling everybody, if you want to kind of get a feel for what all we did this weekend, I've got a YouTube video that should now be live. It went live at 9 o'clock that documents our journey. And we had a really good time and looking forward to the US 129 or 127 yard sale this weekend. And maybe I'll see some of you on the road this weekend. I'm really curious to see how the 127 compares to the 21 we went to. I know it's probably going to be more crowded and there's going to be a ton more like vendors and dealers. Hopefully the weather will be nice too. I do think that's one of the reasons. Like I heard Friday was like off the charts good for some of the vendors. That's just what they told me. Then Saturday, I think with the storms and everything on Friday night, some people, left. So there probably weren't quite as many vendors as there were on Friday. So I'll tell you what, let me look over here and see who we might want to raid. And give me just a second to do that. If you can just stick with me for a minute. Well, let's see. I always look in the ephemera category first since that's where I sell. And then I'll go to the antiques category if there's nobody selling ephemera right now. Oh, and it looks like we have not really anybody there. So let me go to antiques. And appreciate everybody stopping by today. And let's see what we got. Try to find somebody I haven't rated before. There's not a whole lot of shows going on. Oh, let's do. I guess we can talk I guess we can try Sir Knickknacks. They have 11 people, so this will more than double their show. So if everybody can stick with me just a second. Before I leave, thank you so much for coming in. I think we had over 20 people for the majority of the show today. I really appreciate y'all coming listening to me ramble on a Monday morning. Definitely gets my week started off on the right foot. Um, I feel like I know so many of you, just not just from this show, but from my other shows and from talking to you and other people's shows as well. I love Whatnot, and really excited to see the growth as we move forward, especially in the ephemera category, but really across the board. So we're going to go raid Sir Knickknacks. I have no idea what they're selling, but everybody stick around long enough to get over there, maybe say good morning, and then go about your day and have a great week. And hope to see you Friday night, 9 o'clock or 8, yeah, 9 o'clock Eastern time, I believe it is. Amy and I will be doing an ephemera show. And check out my YouTube channel, check out my latest video. You can just go to www.franklinhillventures to get to that. And let me go ahead and pull this raid up. Everybody have a great Monday and a great week. So this was Sir Knickknacks. There they are. All right, looks like they have around 11 people in there. So we're going to double their show right now. So here we go. Everybody have a great day.